We're up here in the beautiful Northeast, fishing in one of these beautiful glacial lakes, super deep, super clean water. We're out here looking for largemouth and smallmouth bass primarily. We're gonna be out here looking for them, cranking. It's one of my favorite things in the world to do. It's underutilized. It's an incredible tool, not only to cover a lot of water, but to ignite schools of fish and cause reactive bites that are pretty ferocious. It's an overlooked technique that a lot of people shy away from this time of year. The majority of them are out here doodling worms, throwing a drop shot, Ned rigs and stuff like that. It's time consuming, and in a body of water that's 40 to potentially 100 miles long and has so much offshore structure, your time is compressed and you really need to cover water quickly to find these aggressive fish. You know, attacking these humps and shoals offshore, the optimal way to do it is to cast into the wind and bring it with the current. The fish are positioned, they're current related. This is wind driven current, not natural current. So they're gonna be positioned right on the face of it. The active fish and the bigger fish often are sitting on the back side of it from my experiences. So we're gonna try and make casts into the wind and bring it with the wind. If it becomes an issue where the wind starts to build up too much, you can 45 it and still reach the depths you need to get to. It's a little different trying to line up on your targets. But if it becomes an issue where we can't get the distance that we need to get that bait to its optimum depth, then we'll head up wind and cast with the wind to get the longest distance possible to get that crankbait to its maximum depth for the longest duration of time. So what we have here is you have a multitude of different things that are going on. Great Lakes is more of a goby based deal, and that's not what we're dealing here with now. This is more of a natural glacial lake. So it's going to be giant schools of perch, giant schools of smelt, alewives, are the primary forage. But it also could be crappie and sunfish are a big thing, especially around the grass, which we'll hopefully get into later on. You can also take this bait and crank grass lines and absolutely smoke these fish, something that's not done. It's a lot of work, but if you have the right gear, under the right circumstances, it's a way you can load the boat incredibly fast. Time is compressed into such a short day, you really need to maximize these bite windows. It doesn't happen all day. But if you can figure out how they're positioned and how they're set up on the structure, it's the most efficient way to cover this water. And it catches tons of fish, as well as some really, really big fish. Yep, there we go, that's a good one. Yeah, buddy. Come on, Duck, stay down. Come on, son. I mean, that's the deal, that sucker right there, man. There's a small patch of grass right alongside a boulder in 13, 14 feet of water I could see. And then just came up and blasted that sucker. So I'm talking about those combinations, either transitions from rock to grass, grass to mud or silt, and fist-sized boulders, to basketball-sized boulders, to boulders the size of Volkswagens, man. Anytime you have a little transition, mwah, you get a beautiful deal. Oh yeah, thank you, buddy. There we go. There we go. Stay down. That deep six, man. I'm telling you, get them fired up. Thank you, buddy. Let's get this one off. Come on. Like I said, this is super clear water, man. The conditions are in our favor. We have a lot of wind, a lot of boat traffic. All that helps. Pay attention to where you made that cast and make that same exact cast, man. It's so, so important to get back there quickly and duplicate that. So the importance of making that same cast. Hit spot lock, boom, small little piece of grass, little guy, but that's two and a couple casts here. Boom, beautiful fish. Thank you, buddy. Okay, get that bait cleaned off. Make sure you're not frayed up, so important, and get right back out there. Visually mark something on a far shoreline. Get yourself triangulation, get your point of reference in front of you, get a point of reference to the side. That'll make that cast a little more accurate. You know, now the electronics are taking that out, but I'm still old school, man. Getting yourself a visual aid on the shore helps so much. Especially when you're trying to fire. I'm not sitting here looking at my graph and then looking up and trying to line it up. Visually, I mark something on that far shoreline. I know exactly where I'm at here. I got everything I need to make that same cast in there and maximize that bite window. All right, so we're hitting grass every single time here now. So what we're gonna do, pick up that Deep X 300 and trying to capitalize on the reaction, ripping it out of the bait, out of the grass rather. We're on a hump right now, out in the middle of a giant pocket. Fish are done spawning. This is gonna be the first thing they stop on. They'll come out here, regroup, start to feed before they make their way out to the deep channel and then deeper main lake humps. But while they're here, you can get right in a hurry. Man, there's a pile of them down there, dude. There we go. Yeah, bud, that's a good one. That's a real good one. Oh, no, keep going. No, he's all right. He's all right. Oh yeah, he's all right. Little guy. Little guy. That's it. We just gotta strike. Importance of getting right back in there right away. Getting another one. Boom. Thank you, buddy. Get that line up. Make that same cast. And we'll try and do that again. And we topped out here. We're in 17 feet now. 17 feet of water right now. Oh, you dirty dog. We're in 17 feet right now. The grass is topping out. And about 15. And it's just a perfect place for that Deep X 300. Caught a bunch of them deeper right around here on the deep 6. Now it's just a follow-up around the grass. Get a little more reactive. They just complement each other. You know, oftentimes when you're cranking deep flat structure, you know, it's you know, the bite can often feel like a wet paper bag. They'll just load up that rod. This is not that kind of bite. This is a bite that gets you super excited. This is a bite that the majority of the time they rip the rods out of your hand. It's a reactionary bite. For those baits that run from that 12 to 15 foot like this guy right here, get a rod that's comfortable for you. You know, if you're a shorter guy, you know, that 7.2, 7.3 up to that 7.6. Me personally, this is a 7.5. Really seems to fit the niche. I'm able to get a long distance cast out of this and it just works well for me. That bigger, deeper bait, I prefer, you know, 7.5 to 8 foot rod, but you really need to get something that's comfortable for you. If you're overworking that rod all day long, it's gonna be taxing. So you just get something that fits your deal. This is just guidelines. This is what works for me. You get the right outfit. Like I said, it's gonna save you a ton of headaches, a ton of fish losses. It really makes it an enjoyable experience. You know, color selection for me is really pretty simple in these northern waters, man. It's as super natural as you can get. These ghost patterns really seem to excel. The light penetration in this body of water in particular, and most of them in the Northeast for that matter, is ultra clear. And I have a buddy that scuba dives, and he has pictures of fish out in 40 feet of water, and the amount of light penetration that it receives that deep is incredible. Far more than what you would ever think. It's pretty ridiculous. So ultra natural, ultra ghosty is really what I like to throw on these super deep shoals. Once I get into the grass, then I will mix it up. I try and keep it natural. There's a handful of them that are really good and excel in this clear water. If I'm gonna add color, it's just a hint. You know what I mean? It's a hit of chartreuse, it's a hit of orange, but those oranges seem to be more in the springtime than they are in the summer. Slight variations in hues from greens to pinks to pearlescent really seem to excel here. The one I'm throwing now happens to be an MB Gizzard. This is in a Deep X 300 and Deep 6 model I'm throwing today. Super good color for this ultra clear water. If you can look at this bait, it's extremely translucent. Got green, got a little bit of pink in it as you roll it to a pearlescent belly. They absolutely choke this color, but that's what you're trying to do, man. You're trying to be as stealthy as you can. You know, you have the speed going for you, which is gonna mask a lot of it. But it's just that translucent body, they don't really get a good look at it, man, and they just absolutely crush it. You know, you're coming up on one of these shoals, really trying to find a sweet spot. It's a matter of just covering water, you know. Until you find it on your graph, you can idle over it. But when it's calm, a lot of times you'll spook those fish. They're smart, they can see everything, they feel that transducer pinging off them. And them smallmouth, especially in this clear water, get a little weird from time to time. So if you do it, idle past it, make your marks, go up, give it a break, come back, set up on it, and make that cast. If not, you're trying to cover water and find a sweet spot. When you have wind and sun like this, those smallmouth will roam. And they could be anywhere. Let's go to the point. We'll come back to that at the end of the day. All right, we just made a quick move. The area we were fishing, we caught a bunch of fish, but not what we're looking for. We went from a grass situation on top of a series of humps and saddles. Now we're gonna move up, check out another classic pattern right here is running points. Wind-blown points, points with chunk rock on them especially, with either tapering, long tapering points into the water, or in this case, super sharp stair-stepping points that have boulders at the end of them. Same thing, I'm starting downwind, casting into the wind, trying to hit those targets, bringing it in a position where the fish are oriented facing into the current. A lot of times those bigger fish will sit on these little bends inside the points. They can be phenomenal, especially if it has a little rock pile on the corner, a little bigger chunk rock. On this spot in particular, there's a bunch of basketball-sized boulders. Where this basketball-sized boulder meets these bigger, you know, boulders is 10, 12, 14 feet around, that transition area, those bigger shadows, those taller rocks is really what they like to get in. They can ambush there. The wind is already pushing the bait here, current's coming down, and oftentimes those bigger fish, the most dominant fish in that area will stay there. You won't get groups of fish in there. It's more of a single deal, but the fish are gonna be bigger in size, and smallmouth and largemouth just corral them on that point. It's an absolute slugfest when it comes together. They are visual feeders up here. You need to elicit a lot of action out of your baits. It's not, you know, it's not just a cast of wine. Crankbaits that are super bulbous with these big spoon bills on them, or even those cup bills, it's too aggressive. It's too much vibration. It doesn't react properly. It's sluggish. That thicker bill prohibits those jerks. The thinner cut bill on this crankbait really allows it to slice through water, slice through currents especially, and so it's equally well in a river as good as it is in a lake. It still has incredible vibration, but it's more of a flashing and rolling a lot of times. Those big bulbous ones is just ga, 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 super hard thump to them, and it really turns off a lot of the fish. Up here, they're more visual. They see things from a long distance. They're able to track that bait for a long period of time, and they have a decision to make. And more times than not, they come up and absolutely crush this bait. Come on, guy, little guy. It's so important sometimes when you get them up, keep their face on the surface, man. So much easier. Thank you, buddy. One is being important. You want to make sure you take care of those fish, but you got to be careful with them hooks, man. That's a bad deal where he's got that. There we go. You know, get their head up and keep them coming. And he's a little guy, it's a small example of what's going on, but even with those 4 or 5 pound fish, if you can get them to the surface, keep their head up. If they break the surface, let that rod do what it's designed to do. This particular crankbait has great vibration, incredible flash, and is near zero resistance, man. It's really a nice bait to pull through the water, something that can work all day. Doing this kind of retrieve where you're really ripping and cranking and pumping through the grass, or in open water trying to mimic the same exact reaction. And this rod, this reel, this line, the whole deal, it really absorbs a lot of that fatigue. Typically you'll have a few bite windows throughout the day. You know, you're gonna have it first thing in the morning with the largemouth. Sometimes you get the smallmouth, but it seems to really excel when you're largemouth, when you're on patterning largemouth. You'll have a midday bite between that 11 to 3. Noon to 3 really is where it really starts to get really good. And then right as the sun sets, you'll have another bite. That's incredible. You know, those are 3 opportunities you have pretty regularly. You know, it's just a matter of you finding where they're at. It's a fun deal. Something that not a lot of people do. It's a lot of work, as you saw today. But if you stick with it, dedicate some time to it, get the right gear, it's an extremely enjoyable deal. So give it a shot, man. Don't shy away from it. And hope you guys get them. Good luck.